We're all set. Good evening. This is the meeting of August 14, 2013 of the Raleigh Municipal Light Plant Commission. And want to remind you that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. Our first order of business on the agenda tonight is to review and accept minutes from prior meetings, but one of our members is not here yet. Hopefully he will come in. If not, we'll have to hold him to the next meeting. Item number 2 is Central Street Solar Project update. So how are we doing with that, Dan?
The major discussion, I would assume, is on the meeting with the selectmen and the assessors board, the public meeting that was held Monday night. We can discuss exactly what happened with that meeting, and not a lot came out of it. I think it's good progress to get the project, to keep it moving. As far as a feeling on how the board of selectmen and the board of assessors view the project, I'm not really sure what to take out of that, but I think both boards think it's probably a good project to move forward with.
I got that feeling, Dan.
Okay.
Dan, I got, excuse me.
Sure, no, go ahead, Bob.
Dan, I had some questions from people after the meeting.
Sure.
And one of the things was, this is like new on the radar to them, okay? So, yeah,
Okay.
not everybody is in the, understands the whole project of how it began, how it went through. And so just that, can you give a little synopsis of?
Okay. It's difficult only because I wasn't here when the project was first, in its infancy, when it first began. It began, I believe, a year ago, July, in a discussion with some developers in the Raleigh Municipal Light Plant about having a solar project. As far as the particulars on that, I'm not sure how they all came to choosing this developer, but a developer or I think what Jim called himself, an interim developer, or
Yeah, he kind of the lead person or something. That's what I got the impression of.
Yeah, they chose him as their go-to person for the solar project, and after that they started to negotiate agreements, the PPA agreement, the interconnection agreement. And this project is going to be good for Raleigh only because it's solar, it's renewable energy, it's green. As you know, wind has been kind of suspect lately as far as health issues and whatnot. Solar is very passive. There's no noise, there's no vibrations, there's nothing that relates to a solar, and it's behind a line of trees, so you won't even see it from the road. So it's going to be beneficial to the Raleigh ratepayers as you mentioned in the meeting, Bob. It's going to be it's going to deliver kilowatt hours when Raleigh uses the most. Not the most, but during peak times of the day. It'll develop kilowatt hours between the hours of 10 and 2. So, I mean, when all the businesses are running during the weekdays and sunny days, we'll be getting a lot of output from that project. The actual developer is the one who chose the Freitag property as a potential development site. I don't think Raleigh, the municipal light plant, had anything to do with that part of it.
I don't believe so either.
He was approached by the developer as far as a good, a viable site for the project. Once that was done, then we continued to discuss the PPA and the interconnection agreement. Came to a not a signed agreement or an executed agreement, but we came to a mutual agreement on the PPA. But the developer lost his financing, so they had to kind of get some new finance partner. And then once they did that, they came back to us and said they wanted to renegotiate the PPA a little bit just for, because the new finance partner didn't really go along with the price that was negotiated originally. So we renegotiated the price. We came to a final agreement, not executed quite yet because there's still some missing pieces to the puzzle as far as the not on our side, but on their side, as far as the pilot to the town, and I think the actual what they're waiting for is the DOER to come up with a final SREC price, and that way they'll be able to tell if this project is what they want to do, as far as what we agreed to a price. My feeling on the price, I really don't want to pay any more than what we've already negotiated. I don't feel, in my opinion, that we should go any higher than we already are. I think where we are is a good price for what we're going to get out of it. I've seen other purchase power agreements throughout the state that are a little bit higher. There's some that are a little bit lower. I think we're in a good spot where we don't want to move too much. So we'll
And
see.
that's gonna be how much a kilowatt hour?
6.5 cents
6.5
a kilowatt hour. Yeah, kilowatt hour.
Okay.
It does have, when they renegotiated the PPA and came back to us, they wanted to put a 2% escalator, which is fairly common in these types of agreements. So we agreed to that in the 6.5 cents, so it's gonna escalate 2.5 cents for 20 years. I believe the end number is around 10 or 11 cents.
Okay.
The end number, yeah. But I mean, that's basically where we're at right now, is just kind of in a waiting game
Mhm.
to get all these final pieces of the puzzle put in. That way we can basically sign the PPA.
So is that cap at 11 or 12%, 12 cents a kilowatt hour? Is that a cap, or if you go up over the 20 years of?
The way it works is we start at 6.5 cents, and every year there's a 2% escalator on the price.
Okay.
So at the end of the 20 years, we'll be capped. The project will, at the end of the 20 years, that's its lifespan, that's the lease agreement, and that's the PPA agreement. At the end of the 20 years, we'll be done. The project will be removed. The
Okay.
land will be returned to the original owner, and
Okay.
and it'll be done as far as that goes.
Plus technology probably change dramatically in the next 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. We're just kind of in a waiting game right now. I mean,
Yeah, I think the assessor, Sean mentioned he was going to do some recalculations of the figures that he had originally weren't the same that we were discussing the other night.
okay.
So he wanted to look at that and just run some more spreadsheets on that to see where we stand. I haven't heard anything more from him. I don't know.
No, haven't heard
I
any more.
have nothing official anyway.
Mm.
So hopefully it's not too. Hopefully it comes. I think it'll be a good project for Rowley.
Yeah, it's going to be a good project. I just hope that the where we are now is with the DOER
Mhm.
in the state of Massachusetts is being politically correct. They've changed the rules a lot, and they're trying to incentivize more projects
Mhm.
in different projects so that the developers are in a kind of a holding pattern, and I think Jim mentioned that last night, that I'm waiting until the final rule comes out so they can kind of retune their projects and get back going on some of them. And
Right. And that's understandable. I mean,
Mhm.
they're there to make some money, and if the money's not there, they're not going to make it.
And you know, it's sad to say, but the project may not happen still, depending on what the DOER does as far as the SREC program goes.
Right.
The developer itself may say, you know, this isn't going to be financially feasible for us to do, and they may pull out themselves. So at that point, we can, you know, because I think a solar project is still something we should do, and maybe, you know, start the process anew and go forward from there and see what else we can get.
Yeah. See what else might come along.
Does that pretty much answer your question as far as?
Yeah, I think, having the meeting the other night at the Board of Selectmen, and I think people have been asking me questions, how do we get it, how did this all begin, how did this start? So just need to get the people involved to
Okay.
understand what was happening and where we're going with the project. Okay, thanks, Dan.
Yeah, one of the
Welcome.
things is particularly the federal and even the state government, Massachusetts had put a proposal out there to have X number of KW up and running in, was it 2015, 19 or something?
2015, but they've already surpassed the
They've already gone over
2015
that.
goal.
So now they've set a new goal for 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So they're pretty much pushing it and trying to get some of that energy out there, that solar energy. So we'll see more projects coming.
Yeah, I mean, in order for these projects to happen, they have to incentivize them, because if they don't, the project, a solar project on itself really doesn't stand. It
Right.
can't, it's
They
not
gotta have
financially feasible.
They gotta have the SRECs
Right.
to make it
Right.
work.
Yeah, and this is, you know, everybody talks about solar and everything else, but, you know, the average layman out there, you know, it's kind of an esoteric subject when you really get into the meat of it, and, you know, they really gotta be kind of brought along and to understand what's, you know,
How it actually works. And
how it actually
Mm.
works.
what is it actually? I mean, you know, how does it function? How does it fit into a town the size of Raleigh as a municipal
Mhm.
light plant? I mean, we need to look at that, and we really have looked at that. And Dan had some experience before we actually came here,
Mhm.
and so he was a good choice at that point to work on this for us.
And we just want,
So-
you know, full transparency so everybody knows as we go
Oh,
forward.
absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
they understand.
And one
Yeah,
thing
well,
we want to make sure that the public understands, the ratepayers of the Raleigh Municipal Light Plant, is that we will not allow this type of an operation to affect their rates in an adverse way.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of our key goals in doing this, is that we want to make sure that we get the best cost that we can to our customers. So, at least that's the way I feel, and I keep an eye on that very closely. So, okay.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome. And if anybody is watching and they have any questions, please, you know, give the light department office a call and we can address any questions that anybody may have. You know, when the project does get going, I really was hesitant to really put anything out right now because it's not really
It's not
official.
finalized yet.
It's not finalized yet, so I'm hesitant to put anything out yet until the project is, you know, with the way of a signed purchase power agreement. Then maybe, you know, put something out, you know,
Mhm.
notify the public what's going on, what the project is. You
Yeah,
know.
if you could put that on the agenda, if you have any updates or anything like that
Okay.
going forward, and you have some piece of news, you know, from the Department of Revenue or whatever, or, you know, the project itself, you know, just to give an explanation to the public, because, you know, I know that a lot of people, I get a lot of calls.
Okay, all right.
On many different subjects, but it's always good. You know, they want to know what's happening, and, you know, and believe me, the people tune into these meetings, and, you know,
That's good. That's what it's all about.
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
Okay.
Dan. Thanks, Bob.
So item number 3 on the agenda is a budget update.
I had emailed the commissioners a copy of the budget, just so you could have some time to review it prior to the meeting. I'm not sure how you want to work the update. If you just want to kind of run through the numbers, I don't want to go through every line item, it may get a little tedious, but if you want to just look at it and ask me any questions, and we can, or I can basically address some of the major points right now is, I'll let you look at it for a minute first before we go any further.
Dan, is there anything that, you know, highlighted to you that you look at in particular as we go down the budget here?
I look at where our revenue is
Mhm.
compared to what I estimated. The revenue is, well, it's important, and it's important to be where we're supposed to be, you know, as far as the year end goes. Because, you know, it's the way you budget your expenses is you have a set revenue number that
Mhm.
you wanna get to, or close to anyway, so you can either make a profit or a small profit. But I look at the revenues on the front page to make sure they're kind of where we're supposed to be at the time of year.
Mhm.
This is as of the end of June, so you can see on the bottom of the first page, our profit, or actually we have a loss at the current time,
Okay.
only because this is as the end of June. We're not hitting the summer peak months yet, July, August.
Mhm.
And just so you know, Bob, I'm not sure how we're gonna work this out, Bob S. and Bob M., but
We'll answer to anything, Dan.
the way the billing works
Mhm.
is generally, we bill around the middle of the month. So, let's say, for the past period, your bill ran from July 8th to August 8th.
Mhm.
The bills go out August 8th, they're not due till the end of the month, till the end of August. So we're collecting that money from, well, the discount is the end of August, but we're collecting the money August into September for July and August revenue. So like I was saying, this is June numbers, so June is the collections from actually almost a month and a half before that.
May, yeah.
Right, and those are the shoulder periods of what we call the shoulder periods of the year. There are at least,
Generally less energy being used in those
Right.
time frames.
Everybody's circulators and everything else in the house are now turned down,
Mhm.
and now you're coming into the peak hours when you start the air conditioning starts to come into play.
correct.
Yeah.
So our August and September revenue is higher
Mhm.
because we're collecting all those summertime air conditioning load and
Typically
whatnot.
in the
So.
shoulder, spring and fall,
Mhm.
you don't have air conditioning and you don't have heating on, so it's kind of that in-between
You
period.
get the,
And one thing you may not realize, I'm sure you do, but it's kind of hard to keep it straight, is that this budget works on a calendar year. January to-
yes,
to-
instead of fiscal year.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly, January to December, ends in December.
Mm.
So, and that's because of the state requirements as far as the filing of reports.
Okay,
So,
thank you for that.
Oh, you're
yeah,
welcome.
because we get a mentality and we're going forward,
Yeah.
and sometimes you have to remember that that's what's
When
happening.
we sit at this table on the other board, it's, we're in a fiscal.
Fiscal, yeah.
So, I mean, that's basically what I look at. I just, on the second page, I just make sure that we're in our target expense range.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first year we've done this budget, so it's gonna take some tweaking to get it to where we really need to be. And as you can tell, right now, there are a few line items that are over budget as of
Mhm.
right now. There were some expenses that, for instance, on the account number 591, the first one in the blue section,
Mm-hmm.
it's a negative $3,000 currently, and that's as of the end of June. The reason for that is there was a 5-year maintenance done in the substation, and that cost about, I think it was around $4,500 to $5,000. That was not in the budget. That was something that was done, because it was the 5-year maintenance. It just happened to come up.
Okay.
So that wasn't in the budget, and that's the reason why that one kind of overran. In the future, that will be placed in the budget and accounted for. One of the other ones is the employee pensions and benefits.
Okay.
That basically is most of it is what we pay to the town for pensions.
Mm-hmm.
We pay the, what's the word I was looking for?
OPEB.
No, it's not
No.
OPEB, it's, we pay a certain portion of salaries for the town, for the work they do for us.
We have so many acronyms.
Yeah,
It's a killer.
But anyway, that's part of it.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, and that, what I'm gonna do with that is I'm gonna rework the way that happens, because generally it's a once-a-year payment. And seeing as the town's on a fiscal year and we're on a calendar year,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't overlap, but it happens, in June, we get that one big lump sum payment that's due to the town. I'm gonna break it up into biannual payments, so that we're gonna pay one in June, then we're gonna pay another one in December,
Mm-hmm.
just to spread the for the cash flow, just to spread it out a little bit
Right.
more. I already talked to Sue about this, and she was fine with it, so.
Good.
But, so that'll spread, and this will go into the red some more, because I'm gonna make another payment in December,
Okay.
which will be in this calendar year for us,
Right,
but in the town's next fiscal year.
yeah.
So it's a little different.
Right.
It's a
Right.
little hard to keep track sometimes, but, is there any questions so far? on
No,
what-
this is great, Dan.
No,
That's
okay.
the way you
Good,
put it
yeah.
together.
All right.
One thing, could we get this up on the web and put this in the?
Yeah, I don't
So
see why I
people,
couldn't
you know-
put a PDF on our website, on the front page, there's a message board.
Mm-hmm.
So I could probably put it on the message board, either quarterly, what are we thinking, quarterly, monthly?
Try the monthly.
Okay,
Let people see, and then, any kind of footnote as an explanation down the bottom of the page. And, just like you gave here tonight. And so people would understand. And then, the little footnote about peak times and during the year. you know, why the budget is, you know, it may seem that we're behind in revenues and everything else, just a little
Okay.
footnote like that.
Just the way we talked about the
Just the way we
revenues
talked about it
offset,
here.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that would be good, and that's, you know. That's good. Thank you, Dan. This is great. I mean, you just started this 4 months ago, and just,
Yeah.
it's a good job.
I plan on having a capital budget starting in January. I'll probably start that in the next month or so.
Mhm.
With Mark and I will sit down. Mark Bixby and I will sit down, and try and come up with a capital budget starting January 14 and going forward.
Super.
Yeah, I mean it's not difficult to run an organization without a capital budget, but it certainly does help to align those expenses on a yearly basis, so you know
And
where
to
you're
plan
going.
ahead.
Yeah.
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 Particularly on replacements and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have a list of what needs to be done or what should be done.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is a public entity, and you know,
Mhm.
people should see how it's run, you know.
Sure.
Super. Thank you, Dan.
Okay.
Any other questions on the budget or anything like
No,
that?
It's,
That's
it's,
Okay.
looks like it's coming together very well, Dan.
Yeah.
It really does. And like you said, it's the first time out, so there will be some adjustments to be made. So, once we get some history. So. All right. Any other questions?
No, good job, Dan.
You got
Thank you.
anything else for us?
I was going to mention, I think before, Bob, before you were commissioner, you had mentioned Citizen Query Board.
Yes, yes.
Is that something that, like you did at the Selectmen's meeting Monday night, that you just have a 15-minute session at the beginning and just leave
Yeah,
it open for questions?
Kind of
Or?
open up and I picked it up from, they have these chairman coffees, okay? And I got together with a couple of other boards from a different town. This is something they introduced in, I think Ipswich has it, and it gives it, you know, if there's any kind of query, you know, somebody has a question, they come in like 10 after to a quarter after the hour. You give the public 10 minutes, and they may have a question, you know, something, you never know what they're gonna come in
Right,
and
right,
ask. But you
right.
give them the opportunity. And we've also had people, you know, tune in, and all of a sudden, you know, I kind of read the agenda before the meeting, and all of a sudden they come down and they'll pop in, you know, they have that 10 minutes to drive from, you know, from the other side of town, but
Yeah, one of the things that we have to watch for is that the query is fine. They can discuss it, but the board, because it's not on the agenda,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
cannot deliberate it.
Right.
So what you would do is you would put it onto maybe the next agenda or something like that, and then you could talk about it.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's a good way to let the public be able to ask the questions and get some satisfaction.
If you want, that's something I can just put on the agenda for the next meeting as kind of a 7 to 7:10, and just kind of
Mhm.
try it as a trial and see how it goes. And
Yeah, we could do
It's been
that.
very successful. I mean,
Okay.
if you, I kind of tune into some of the other boards in some of the other towns, especially with the Verizon,
Yeah.
and you get to see how they use the query, and some of them get kind of heated. So, but,
No.
not here in Raleigh. No.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Dick.
All right. Okay, then being no other business to come before the board, I will intimate a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made, I will second that motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.